of a countdown.
There we go. Yeah, that would be nice. The
Wouldn't that be
three,
great?
two, one.
That's right. It now says we are. There it is. The signal has been given to me that we are live. So that's great. Over on my laptop, it still says starting shortly. So I've got my one eye over on the other side, trying to see if it's active or not. There's about a 30, 40 second delay between what we're doing and what the audience sees. And that's something that you have to sort of get used to. But it is part of the process. I think the thing that confuses me is when we look at the Hangout questions, I'll sort of ask something and then wait for a response, and it seems like forever before responses come my way. But it looks like it's all working, so I can formally say hello to everyone. It's exciting that we've got a couple of people on camera and a few people in the audience, and as we do every Thursday at 4 p.m., we just chat as if we all had coffee. In fact, maybe I should get coffee mugs made up, and then we can all sort of have our coffee. Oh, maybe it should be martinis. No, no, it's 4 o'clock, so I don't know if that's appropriate. But
Wine for me.
Yeah, I was going to say wine for me as well.
yeah. Those in the audience, you hear people in our film strip. I haven't brought them on yet, but you can see their pictures down on the bottom. And what I'll do is I'll let them each introduce themselves, and as more of our guests come into the film strip, we'll introduce them, and then we'll get into some of our Q&A and our contacts and so forth. But let's start to my right, my left. How does that work on camera? I mean, which way is, no, that's not the way. There, I'm pointing that direction. So to Deb, I will put you on camera.
And you were just pointing to them.
And I was pointing to somebody, but here's Deborah Welsh and our wonderful comment wrangler, future to be cancer coach, and all-round great nurse practitioner, registered nurse, consultant in healthcare and wellness. So take all of that and connect those Lego blocks and tell everyone who's watching who you are, Deborah.
Yes, and actually one correction, I am not a nurse practitioner. I do have my master's degree in nursing, but I am not a nurse practitioner.
Do you want to be?
You know what? I've gone back and forth with my desire to return to school, and after leaving my doctoral program midway through, I'm not sure which direction I'd go in, but I work primarily in the occupational health and wellness arena for employers developing health and wellness programs for employee populations. So, and it doesn't have to necessarily be within a workplace, but that's been the primary focus. It could be, you know, an organization or an agency in the community as well. I got to know Dave about 3 years ago, and we've traveled a cancer journey together.
You sure did. In hospital bed, and there you were. It's quite interesting how that all worked. Video conferencing from my hospital bed to you. That's
well,
what a memory.
Actually, I think the most memorable time, Dave, was when you snuck into the conference room that was not occupied in your gown with your IV pole, and we were we had a long conversation actually until someone peeked his head inside the room and said, "Is this room in use? Because we're supposed to have a meeting."
I take over the hospital, you know. But I suffered. Remember, that's when my ostomy broke, and I had to go to the hospital. I had to cut the video short and get back to my hospital room. Right. But you're right. You and I have had quite the journey. That's for sure.
And it was an interesting time. I remember as well. One of the other individuals you were sharing a room with was a newly diagnosed post-surgical patient who was a female who was having a very difficult time. And you know, the conversations that we had, not only about what she was going through, but the fact that you, being present in the same room, you know, got to hear her whole, you know, post-op instructions, prognosis, and how we were kind of commiserating about how it's unfortunate, in a circumstance like that when she's probably trying to process this, traumatic news, and to know that, you don't even really have a door that you can close and cry without having someone hear
Yeah,
you.
that's right. No,
Um,
no.
but anyway, so I digress there. So anyway, Dave and I have been working on the Find Your New Normal process for, I'll say, about the last year plus. Of course, Dave is the captain of this ship, and I paddle from the back, as I've said before, and will try to assist during the live sessions and enjoy that very much. And also, I'm gleaning a lot from the coaches that attend, because it does seem as though everyone has their own niche or focal point. Um, Interestingly enough, whether you be north of the border or south of the border, we all have the same issues with regard to cancer care, follow-up, need for support, etc. So sharing the same story, just in different geographies. And I really enjoy being part of this process, and thank Dave for including me. And I look forward to getting to know each and every one of the attendees personally. And with that said, then Beth, I will let you take it from there.
Yes, over to Beth. There you are. You're on camera
Okay.
now. Our first ever camera broadcast. We just got it all connected a little while ago. This is an exciting day for Beth. Yay!
Technology challenged here.
We should say you're not my sister. You're not my cousin.
Right,
Even if
right.
your name is Williams, we're probably related somehow, but we haven't figured that part out yet.
Yeah. So frankly, I don't even remember how I ended up with the invitation from Dave to participate in this, but I have...
Was it through Gina, I think?
I'm not sure. But I've been trying to develop a cancer survivorship coaching practice. My first wake-up call after my brain surgery, I had a brain tumor, and somewhere between the surgery and the year of chemo, the first wake-up call was asking myself, if not now, when am I going to become a coach full-time so I can do what I love? Mm-hmm. And figured there was no time to waste. And then I got into executive and career coaching because my background is human resources and consulting and all of that. So that made a lot of sense. And I thought about a niche related to cancer, but I kind of rejected it. It seemed really depressing, frankly. And then my brother, Jeff, who's a younger brother, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, late stage, and given only a few weeks to live back in 2013. And it was such an inspiring few weeks that when he passed on, I decided, okay, it doesn't have to be depressing. It can actually be inspiring, because Jeff was so inspiring to me, the way he lived those last few weeks, and he invited everyone to join in with him. So I spent the last 5 days with him just before he passed, along with friends and relatives and immediate family, and we just hung out together and joked and laughed and tried to be as normal as possible, even though it was a very sad time as well. And he really is responsible for my feeling like, okay, I need to follow my passion and what's really meaningful. And to me, coaching survivors to live fearlessly with purpose and passion is what I want for other people who've been through the cancer journey and are ready to live their lives. So the question is, how do I do that?
And Jackie George is joined us, but we're getting echo. Can you mute your microphone, Jackie, until we figure out what's wrong?
I'm trying to figure out how to do that right now.
Okay, just at the top of the screen are some icons. One looks like a microphone. If you click on it, it will mute you or unmute you.
On the top where, you said?
Just mouse over right beside the word Google. There's a red phone and a cogwheel and a camera and a microphone.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah.
There you go. So perfect.
Yay.
So we'll just click that again when we bring you back on. But there's some echo because you're not wearing a headphone or a earbud. So what happens is the sound from your speakers is being picked up by your microphone and gets broadcasted back to everybody. So look at that. We've got another person who's playing with technology. So you didn't get to finish your talk, Beth. I just jumped in because we were getting the echo and it was running over top. So do you want to just finish your thought for the audience?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that I've been really challenged by trying to identify people to coach. And so I started doing some free workshops at places like Gilda's Club and Wellness House in Hinsdale, and I did a speech at one of the National Cancer Survivor Day events in the area and got really good feedback. And Wellness House has now offered me a sort of a partnership, so I'm going to get paid for my workshops in the future, which will be fun. So I'm starting to get known a little bit through that, and Coping with Cancer magazine approached me about a short article, so I wrote something for them that should be published sometime this fall.
Great.
But it's still really slow going, and I want to be doing what I love. I want to be doing something meaningful, so I'm all ears about figuring that out.
Yes, well, I welcome you to the group, and you know this is not a training event. This is just a conversational event to meet other coaches and to share ideas and see if you can get advice and direction. So we've got Jackie that has been to a couple of our sessions, and if you could turn your mic on, Jackie, and let the group know who you are and what you're interested in talking about. I know a little bit of your background, and I know Jeanette Marshall is in the audience. She will definitely want to hear about what you're up to.
Yeah.
Over to Jackie.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you just great.
Okay. So I've been an oncology nurse for 10 years, and about 5 years ago I became a patient advocate. And on that journey, I was watching cancer patients, a lot of them succumb to secondary infections and things like that, thinking there had to be a better way. So I'm looking to coach patients and include a lot of holistic modalities and integrate in more of an integrative functional medicine way out in Arizona. And I've been doing my own practice for the last 4 years, and I'm still finishing up Jeanette's class, almost done with it, in between doing everything that I have, because I have quite a few patients and different things going on, so trying to fit it all in.
And how's it going out in Arizona for you?
For me, it's kind of slow growing. I did approach the wellness community in my area, but I think I'm too far to the left because my philosophy is when American Cancer Society and Susan G. Komen really want to beat cancer, they'll really start counseling people about nutrition and really talking to them about sugar and that sugar feeds cancer, and we can all get on the same page and try to teach these people that there are ways they can be empowered. They don't have to feel like cancer is a death sentence. Cancer is not. It's your wake-up call. It's the light on your cardboard dash that's flashing, and you just ignored the oil changes that you were supposed to have and everything, and now it's blaring at you. But unfortunately, I actually went to them with an incredible presentation, and the person over there is not interested. She took the book that I brought, that I based my presentation on, which was the book I told you about, Dave,
yes.
The Cancer Free, Are You Sure? Because survivors need to know about this book. It's incredible. And I wanted to just try to speak to survivors, and, you know, they were not interested in having me come in and speak to them. So she took a copy of the book. I left her a copy of the book, and she shoved it in her library shelf.
What's the name of the book?
Hopefully I could just, it's called Cancer Free, Are You Sure? I went to a cancer conference back in March in San Diego. There's a gentleman by the name of Ty Bollinger and Nathan Crane. If you follow them, Ty Bollinger is The Truth About Cancer. Nathan Crane is the Integrative Cancer Coach Summit, The Cure to Cancer. I wasn't able to go the year before, but this past year I went, and it was the most incredible 4 days of my life. Just the amount of information. I was up at 8 in the morning in lectures till 10 at night. It was unbelievable. Non-stop meeting people who used integrative approaches, who healed themselves. I mean, Dr. Charles Major had a brain tumor, and he's still alive, and he talks about his journey and everything that he did, and he went to James Forsyth in Reno, Nevada, and everything else. So it was just incredible meeting these people. And one of the books I found is I met the author. Her name is Jenny, and Jenny and I have become friends. She's an incredible gal. She herself was a nurse and in Texas, and had developed breast cancer. And within 2 weeks of her diagnosis, was whisked into the medical system and went on her journey, not even realizing that there were other options out there or things for her to consider. And then when she finished her journey, or while she was on her journey, basically realized when she started going to support groups that this one's on round 2, this one's on round 3, this one's on round 4, this one just died. She's like, what's going on here? The doctors told me if I did these things, I'm going to be okay. And then the doctor's like, well, no, we don't know that you're going to be okay. So then she took her medicine into her own hands, and she wrote this book to help educate people how they can be empowered in other testing. And as much as testing that I did know about, this isn't even more testing that patients can do on their own. And actually, I just did one of the tests, the parasite test, which conventionally I had by my GI doctor, who basically told me I had no parasites, nothing inside my colon. They, of course, just wanted to put me on Remicade or some sort of other biologic because I have ulcerative colitis based on the colonoscopy. Well, it turns out when I sent my stuff to Dr. Raphael D'Angelo in Colorado, he came back and I have protozoas, I've got parasites, I've got yeast, I've got all these things wrong with my colon. And so now I'm on a specific kind of way to cleanse my colon because, you know, your colon is the key to health. But unfortunately in the conventional world, they looked at it and they said I was fine, but obviously I wasn't.
Yeah, and I think you're raising that whole issue of you have knowledge, and how do you get the knowledge out to the world? And not everybody is ready to hear the message. And that's frustrating to coaches, because you'll take an incredible program from, you know, say the National Association of Professional Cancer Coaches, and they'll give you, you know, all this great content on nutrition and lifestyle and environment, and you're certified, you know you've got answers, and you take it to market, and you get resistance. And that's, you know, a real problem for coaches, is to educate people, because you are now the pseudo experts, and you're talking to someone who thinks they're an expert, and you've got to sort of blend the kinds of information together. Any suggestions of how to go about doing that, Jackie?
You know, I kind of try to meet the patients where they are. It's really, really hard. A lot of them believe in what their doctors tell them, and their doctors aren't open to integrating natural options. Now, if I do have a doctor who is more open to it, then it makes it a little bit easier. And so I basically tell patients some of the recommendations that we're telling them to do like, for example, the Budwig diet, which is cottage cheese blended with flaxseed oil, doing that a couple of times a day to get extra oxygen into the cells, that's food. That's not, nothing anybody can't do. It's your choice if you want to try it. I can't guarantee it'll work, but it has worked for a lot of people if you want to try it. And it's really hard because so many people have been conditioned that their physicians know best. And I just try to say, well, you know what, I've been an oncology nurse for 10 years and I've watched people die, and I'm trying to kind of help you because I don't want to see anything happen to you.
Sure. Let's
And
bring Debbie in, and maybe Jackie, you could mute your mic again so we don't get that echo.
yeah,
So we'll bring Deb in and let you add your perspective, because I think this has got to be a common issue where the knowledge is trying to be shared and medical professionals don't necessarily react positively to that information.
Mhm. I absolutely believe that. Now, Jackie, I'm not sure at what point you joined. I am not a cancer coach. I work primarily in occupational health and wellness. But I know even my own journey, when I had initial results, my surgeon told me up front that he didn't really think it was anything and I should go home and things would be okay. And it was interesting, to have him kind of backpedal when the results came in, and there was no other option at that point for me other than a surgical procedure. But it would have been interesting to have identified other possibilities, other modalities, and going forward, referred off to an endocrinologist, and that's that and my primary care physician are my only referrals for me personally. And I know Dave and I have spoken a lot about the fact that once someone is discharged post-surgery or post-chemotherapy treatments, that there aren't those holistic support systems recommended, suggested, that there isn't some wonderful directory of other options, people that can provide you with education regarding your nutritional needs. You go in as a diabetic that now has cancer, so who's going to support that as far as modifying your diet? Um, you know, I just think in general, not only is the cancer coach portion so very important, but opening up other options. And oh, Beth, very good. And Dave, I'll let you put that
Sure.
comment up. I absolutely think that the combination of both what you're dealing with psychologically, emotionally, physically are integrated. And to your point here, I think we'll put this up here.
There it is.
Yep.
So when you wear your RN cap and you're looking at this thing from a medical practitioner, why do you think there's resistance? Because certainly in my treatment program, there was resistance to listening to alternative therapies. In fact, there was even resistance to talking about nutritional alternatives because the dietitians, nutritionists on the floor had their protocols, and they really weren't open to new thoughts and new ideas. Why is that happening, do you think?
Well, I don't know that that's so much the case, Dave, because the primary focus is allopathic medicine across the board in this country, with the integration of some Western and holistic modalities as well. But when nutrition therapy isn't a core focus within a medical curricula, or if it isn't part of a treatment protocol, and you are a practitioner that has to work within your prescriptive arena, if that patient is not referred to you, it isn't left, and certainly Jackie, you can comment on this, it isn't left up to the nutritionist to say, yes, I have this caseload, but I think the patient in 101B really could benefit. It's more of it's more of a push than an outreach.
Jackie's raising her hand and saying, "Let me back in, let me back in." So back you go, Jackie, and unmute your microphone. Make sure your microphone's unmuted.
Okay, so many, many years ago, there was a report called the Flexner Report. That's how when medicine changed. And the problem is all the money is in drugs, pharmaceutical companies. There's no money in natural therapies. We know they work. There's a lot of people out there using them across the world. Ancient Indian medicine, ancient Chinese medicine, things like that. There's no money in it. Therefore, they don't do it. I worked for one of the most prestigious practices in Arizona, and I had doctors that were not Native Americans. They were from other countries. And I even said to him, about, oh wait, I lost you guys. Oh, here you are.
You're still there. I've got you.
I even said to him about talking to patients about nutrition. I was the one nurse who would educate the patients about nutrition. I would talk to them about EWG.org, about the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15, about GMOs. I'd talk to them about gluten. I would talk to them about the sunscreens that they put on their body and all their supplements, that they need to have pure supplements and whole food items, not taking stuff that's loaded with soybean oil, which is all genetically modified, which is toxic to the body and things like that. And I had a conversation with one of the doctors, and he said to me, he goes, "Don't stress them out, Jackie. Let them eat whatever they want. Let them do whatever they do. Just let them be." And I'm like, why? Why? Because we're killing them. And he was like, no. And I turned to him, and I said it this candidly. I said, when you lived in Egypt and in Israel, did you eat this shit? The food here is crap. I said, you didn't eat this. I said, so why do we want the patients to eat it? Why aren't we telling them? Well, some of them can't afford it. I said, you know what? They can't afford not to. And if we just sit by ignorantly not telling them that they have options and choices, then we're just as guilty. And I couldn't live with that. The worst thing for me as an oncology nurse for so many years was that the patient that came back and sat in my chair 6 months, a year, 2 years, even 3 months after they thought they were cured, they were cancer-free, and they came back and sat in my chair, and then I dealt with them, not him. I dealt with them crying. Why is this happening again? I never wanted to go through this again. And then they would go down the rabbit hole. And I sat by and watched that until I learned different things. And I'm like, they're sitting here drinking a big Sonic drink. It's like, 7-Eleven back east, a big Sonic Gulp filled with sugar. And I'm telling them, don't eat sugar. I'm telling them to juice. And I've had a few patients that actually took what I said seriously. And one of my patients successfully, she wasn't like a coaching patient. She was just a patient who wrote every single thing down that I said when I counseled them starting chemo. And she went out, she bought a Blendtec blender, she went out and bought a juicer, and she started doing things. And when she was done with her, and she kept exercising, I told her, exercise through it. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with the fatigue. You're going to wind up going in that circle, and you're never going to get rid of it. She exercised through it all. She ran a half marathon 6 months after she was done with chemo.
There you go. So I think that you've got the truth, and Jeanette has made some interesting comments. The first one that she brought up was the question or the answer to the problem, and the reason for resistance is ignorance. And the other comment that Jeanette made, and I'll bring that one up, is that there's really just no money in the natural therapies. And I think what all the coaches who are either here today or are watching this in the replays, they'll all agree that there's some real interesting magic that we've got available. I'll rephrase that. It's not magic. It's information that we understand has some value, and we present it, and we get resistance. And we have proof of the acceptance of these new alternative therapies, And our job as professionals is to find the way to educate those people, whether they're the medical practitioners or the patient, to get them to understand what we've got. The issue, I think, is not to get indignant by it, because that just creates emotional angst in the conversation, and people will get defensive, and they will just resist you because of the approach that you take. So as a way of introducing new concepts, it has to be a compromise. There has to be a way of sharing the information in such a way that people will listen. And I think, as Jackie was just saying, there are some truths that you can point out that says, if you do this, this is the result. If you don't do that, this is the result. The problem is everyone has to be ready to do it. Changing your lifestyle, changing what you do, doing things that you don't want to do is really difficult for patients to do. And I raise my hand because my team has told me what I should eat, or at least what I should think about eating, and I'll listen to pieces of it. But that big 32-ounce Slurpee Sonic slushy are still things that I really like, and I really shouldn't do that. So how do I wean myself off of my sugar fixes? How do I eat more kale chips? How do I incorporate things in my diet? I need a coach that walks me through these baby steps so that my life change occurs. Otherwise, I'll just say, no thanks, and walk away, even knowing it's really a good thing for me. So I want to make sure the audience understands that this is a universal problem. When you introduce new ideas, regardless of how good they are, you get natural resistance to change, and the medical profession are going to take a long time to accept entirely all the new ideas, and the patients won't do it. Do you think, and I'll throw it back to our group because this is a good topic, is as a business person who wants to build a business helping people make these life changes, what do you think is the best way to do it? Should you do webinars? Should you do seminars? Should you do newsletters? Should you do, there's a long list of techniques that you can dig into your kit and pull out to educate and get people ready for the knowledge that you want to share. How do you prefer to move forward in your toolkit bag? What do you think are good things for you to use, and perhaps why? And that'd be good for the audience to respond to. So who would like to give some suggestions? Jackie or Beth or Deb? What do you think is the way to start this introduction process?
Hi. Well, it's Jackie again. I usually, I kind of try to figure out from them. I don't want to overwhelm them, and I kind of figure out what are their main things that can we change? What are the key things that if they're eating gluten, can we cut that out? And then I supply recipes and help them. We'll do a grocery shopping tour one-on-one. I like doing, I do a lot of community events, but I also like to do a lot of one-on-one because everybody can be at different places. And some people are willing to make changes, and some people want to go at a faster pace than others. So I try to do a lot of one-on-one with them and really find out where they are and what they're willing to do, and not overwhelm them in that regard. And do the shopping tours, I think is helpful. Be teaching people how to read a food label. In America, we don't have a lot of things that are labeled. We're getting better with the non-GMO, but people don't understand, all the key things.
And Jackie, can I ask a question? When you're doing the one-on-one sessions, or when you're doing the education as far as the food label reading and the shopping excursions, do you have a fee-based schedule that you use, or is that something that you're doing gratis to the patients you've seen in the hospital or someone that you've come in contact through in a workshop?
Well, basically, I kind of modified like a program similar to what Jeanette's coaches do. Not exactly hers, but I have them buy a package of hours. And during the package of hours, these are the things we're going to cover. And then I do like Jeanette. I did model her a little bit because what I do like is that she keeps in contact with them for up to a year afterwards, and they have a choice. They can have an in-person visit once a month after we have, they buy so many hours, or it could be a phone conversation or a Skype, whatever they're comfortable with. While I am speaking, I did want to share with you, I don't know if any of you have heard of a program called Reimagine. Because I'm not a social worker, I introduced the mind, body, spirit connection a little bit, especially after reading Dr. Lipton's book, The Biology of a Belief, and things like that. It was really moving to me. And I talk about Louise Hayes a little bit with them, and we do a little bit of an exercise one-on-one. But there's a new program where it's an online community, and it's a fabulous program. They send these patients a big kit, and you can work through all the emotional stuff. It's 10 weeks of workshops, and then they pay to belong to this community. So having that psychological counseling, which I'm not a social worker, and I don't have, that's out of my realm of doing. So I wanted to share it with you guys so you are familiar with it. It's called Reimagine.
You can just type it in the chat box as well so that people will.
Oh, I did. I just
you did already? Great.
I did, and I was telling people about it. So
I just ran across it, I think maybe a week or so ago, and checked it out, and it looks really comprehensive. I didn't dig deep enough to see the 10-week nutritional program. The emotional program, but I will go back and check that out, because for me, in my workshops, I cover mind, body, spirit, and I introduce meditation and mindfulness and nutrition, exercise, all of those things, and some ideas on things to do. And by the end of the workshop, I've asked them to jot things down along the way about one thing in each part that they're willing to test out for themselves, so that at the end of the workshop, they have the beginning of a plan. How well it works, I don't know, because I haven't done enough workshops to really tell. But the whole connection of the mind, body, spirit, I'm really convinced that for me, that's one of the reasons I had such a good success in recovering from my brain surgery and chemo. Now, part of it was I had a rare form of brain cancer that's easily treatable. Easily, as they say. And the best type of brain tumor to have, which I have to say must be true, because only 4% of people get that particular type, and I had really good results. But I also did a lot of brain entrainment. I have done a lot of meditation. I've always focused on my nutrition, because I've had weight problems until just the last few years, because now I have so many food allergies, and whether that's from the GMOs or the chemo or both, I'm not sure. But as a result, I eat fresh fruits and vegetables. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat sugar. I don't drink a lot of caffeine even. No sodas anymore. I used to drink probably a 6-pack of diet soda every day in the old days. So I really have changed my lifestyle to accommodate health, because to me, living fully is so much more important than missing out on a piece of cake. Now if I'm going to have a piece of cake, it darn well better be a homemade piece of cake or something that's really worthwhile. Because inflammation leads to disease, including cancer.
There you go.
Beth, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
You mentioned kind of giving this toolkit to the participants of your seminars, but
Hmm.
not really having a mechanism in place to get feedback, as to whether it worked, it didn't work, how it could be
Hmm.
improved. Have you, at this point, put any thought into putting something like that in place, whether it be a brief survey that could be emailed or snail mailed out to people, or even, um, just a blog, for, I, I, I don't know whether you have a website, but if you have a
I do.
website, a blog that you could receive feedback or even just an email from participants so that you could kind of gauge what their experience was and how it worked for them. And it
Hmm.
would be kind of interesting to not only have that from the, an individual participant, but to see how different the responses might be from multiple participants.
That's a great idea. And I do invite everyone who participates in the workshops to sign up for my newsletter, blog posts. I'm also writing a book, so I'm always looking for cancer survivors to interview for this book. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, other than inspiring stories and whatever I learn from interviewing 40 to 50 people. But the
Hmm.
idea of surveying the participants, everyone who's on my list, and it's still a pretty small list right now, but I could very easily survey the people on my list and ask them to simply respond to my email, letting
Hmm.
me know what have they put to use and how's it working for them.
And if, just as a sidebar, and maybe I should take this offline with you, but survey software or programs such as SurveyMonkey are
Hmm.
easy to create. They can be inexpensive to subscribe to. You can customize your questions,
Hmm.
and then you get the results back. You can tally them. You can, filter them every which way to Sunday, and then that gives you the ability to say, okay, I got the positive responses to this question, needs improvement for this one, comments at the bottom. And I've worked extensively with survey programs, so if at some point, you'd like some insight with that, I'd be happy to provide that.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
And that's probably a good place to start the wind up because we've been covering a lot of information. And for the audience watching, these sessions are designed for you to get new ideas of how to think through the issues that you're dealing with. And each of you look at things quite differently. If I look at all the different coaches that we have in our network, we have some that really are focused in on helping the cancer patient and survivor deal with nutrition and lifestyle. Some are coming at a life coaching background and are saying, my focus is to help you adjust it and find your new way of adjusting to your life with your job and your family and your
Hmm.
friends. Others are coming at it from a spirituality or and even religious perspective of where does the spirituality dimensions come in and helping you adjust along this journey and move into your new normal. It's interesting because I assumed when I started this, a year or so ago, that a coach was a coach and the information was the information, and pick one and away you go. It turns out not to be the case at all. That everyone who is deciding to help the cancer patient, the survivor, and some even now the caregivers have a very different background perspective. And for the patient, survivor, and caregiver, they have to look at what is it that each of these coaches are offering. Now, that's why the Cancer Coach Directory has been created. Don't forget to get your listings in that directory and talk about what it is that your focus is on and the kinds of problems the cancer patient, survivor, or caregiver are facing that you can help them with. You're not all looking at the journey the same way. And when your future customer, your client that you're trying to work with is looking at finding someone to help them, they in their mind have some idea of what they're looking for. And it may not at all be what you're offering. And that's why I want you all to network with one another, and why we spend so much time each week introducing one another to everybody else, so that you can approach it from a team perspective. There tends to be a philosophy: I'm the coach, I want a billable client, I'm going to work with them. And I think you might want to start evaluating that philosophy and say, perhaps I can bring a team of expertise into solving the problem. Just like the medical professionals do. I have a 7-man team when I go to my hospital, who are looking after all kinds of issues for me, and they get together and talk about what are the various steps that Dave must take. You might want to think of how you align your services with different members in the coaching profession. And hopefully you will choose people that you're meeting here in our weekly Hangouts, because they're all great people, they all have great knowledge, and together you might have a much better solution to offer to the patient than just doing it on your own. And so, start to think through, do you have the answers to all the problems that the patient is dealing beyond, well, I'm the nutritionist, I'm the life coach, I'm the spiritual focused person, I'm the generalist, I'm the breast cancer coach, I'm the person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Start to think this through in a different way, and use these weekly sessions to try and meet other very competent people that you'd like to know. All the information is available. Those who will watch this, if you click on their pictures and names in the chat area, you'll see that their information pops up on the screen. And if you go over to the Cancer Coach directory, you'll also see people's email addresses and how to get in touch with them. So every week we're getting some interesting conversations going. I'm hoping that it's of value to you. Let me turn the microphone back to the individual, members in our film strip, and let them have their concluding comments, and then we'll sign out. So let's do it in the same order that we said hello. Deb, over to you to make your concluding comments, and then we'll go to Beth and Jackie.
Okay. Thank you once again, Dave, for another wonderful session. It's always interesting and engaging and rewarding to attend these sessions and get to know each one of the coaches and what you all bring individually to this network. One of the things you mentioned, Dave, about creating a network within this coaching, entity of Finn, is that because we don't have the barriers of, being limited to face-to-face conversations any longer, and having programs like Google and Skype, it makes it so much easier. So, if, Beth, I come in contact with someone that really wants to talk to someone that either has walked your particular journey or has your philosophies, it's easy enough to say, okay, well, I have a connection, a colleague that's located in Chicago, but it's easy enough to do what we're doing today and bridge those miles. And it's the same with you, Jackie, being on the other side of the country here, or Dave, across the border. And I think that's really wonderful from the standpoint of the days are past when you didn't have an option but to go to an office or to make an appointment and do the face-to-face. Although I still believe that that's truly valuable. I think that this is a wonderful network, and I think together, as this continues to grow and expand, it will really provide options for a lot of people, both Canada, US, and globally. So thank you again for including me. I really enjoyed meeting everyone, and I look forward to talking to you all next week.
Thank you for those comments. And over to Beth for your final thoughts.
Great, thank you. This is great because, frankly, one of the challenges of being a coach is the isolation. And to have a group of coaches who have sort of a common ground based in the cancer world is such a privilege to get to know, and I'm learning so much from so many different people, both on the chat side and the live side. This is great because I actually think better when I have people to talk to than to just think and think and think on my own. So thank you, everyone, for giving me a chance to speak up.
Hey,
And
thanks for coming.
I just think it's a great idea, Dave, to use this community as a way to really get to know each other and be able to refer people, because I'm a firm believer in getting the right fit for coaches, personality, philosophy, style, it all counts. And so just like the mind, body, spirit, that concept is so important to me as well. I think the right fit for the coach is essential. So I'm grateful to have a broader community to draw from.
Thank you very much. And over to Jackie. Unmute yourself and...
Well, thank you, Dave. This is wonderful. Thank you, Jeanette, for posting this as part of your group. I'm glad I'm able to see everybody this week, and you guys can actually see me this week, which is nice. It was nice to meet both of you, Deborah and Beth, and I know, Jeanette, one of these days maybe I'll get to see you. And it is nice to have people that you can talk to and kind of brainstorm and powwow with. So thank you, Dave, for doing this, and stay well, and wish you all a very good week and a good journey.
Hey, thanks, Jackie, and thank Beth, and thanks to Deb, and thanks for the audience. And you know, we've got usually about 40 or 50 coaches who are watching the replays and staying in touch with us. And you know, every week we have different people showing up in the film strip, and you know, soon we'll have 10 people in the film strip, all talking on various issues. So everyone's saying that you know, to have a place to just hang out and talk and share and help one another is a good thing to do, and I'm glad that people are responding to this. I think it's I'm just amazed that cancer coaches exist. You know, having not known about you good folks during my treatment program, my goal is to let the world know that coaches do exist, and get out there and become visible. So everyone show up on Thursdays at 4 o'clock. Next Wednesday is our monthly broadcast to the cancer community, whether they're patients or caregivers or survivors. Our speaker, and it's a presentation as opposed to networking like we're doing today. It's our monthly opportunity to take a message to market, and Gina Costa Goldfarb is our guest. She is the founder of New Beginnings, which really focuses in on offering services to breast cancer survivors. Some of you met her last week in the Hangout. She looks at the world through the eyes of a life coach, and has taken her skills and training, and we'll talk about what she does to help the breast cancer survivor create a new beginning in their life and how they can thrive, not just survive. And so let me thank everyone there and tell everyone to show up for next Wednesday session and next Thursday session. And I also love to tell everyone, make sure that you're talking to the National Association of Professional Cancer Coaches. Their training program is outstanding, and one of the issues that we raised way back was, how do I get hospitals and clinics to recognize my credentials? The nice thing about the program Jeanette Marshall spent 11 plus years developing is a way of giving coaches credentials that are acceptable to the medical community. So regardless of your background and your focus, I think you've got to investigate the NAPCC curriculum and see if it fits your needs, and add that to the skills that you bring in your service offering to cancer coaches or to patients, survivors, and hopefully someday I'm going to meet some coaches who are focusing in on caregivers, because I think that's another big area. But anyways, we've gone well over our 30 minutes. We've done an hour. So we're going to have to get tighter on time next week. But everyone, come on back at 4 o'clock Eastern next Thursday. Just hit the registration page. The room is always open in advance of the time. I mean, days in advance. So you can go in, register, leave comments, and people can come back in and leave comments, and you can have an ongoing discussion before our session starts next Thursday. And if anyone who wants to join the film strip needs some help on getting their webcams and microphones connected, just send me a note and we'll set up some one-on-one time, and I'll make sure the technology works your need. So once again, thanks all, and our guests, please stay in the film strip. I'm going to stop the recording, but stay there and we can say hello to one another for a little longer. But to the audience watching, have a great week, and we'll all see you either at our monthly broadcast on Wednesday and our coaching session next Thursday. Bye for now. Take good care of yourself.